Jeez, it's a like big one. It's a white bass. What's up, everybody? This is Zach from Angler's Escape, and today I'm going to go over my favorite white bass fishing lures. So in front of me I have a pile of lures that I think works really well for white bass fishing and a pile that I don't think work that well for white bass fishing. And so over the years I've done a lot of fishing, especially at Smithville Lake, and caught a lot of white bass, and mainly those white bass that I've caught have been on spoons and inline spinners, as you see here. Usually a spoon around an inch is a good size. Like, these are all good size spoons. I wouldn't get anything bigger, but they work really well, especially when they're fluttering down. You cast them out, the spoons just kind of flutter down, and they'll take them when they're fluttering down. These inline spinners work really well too. You can cast those, retrieve them. I catch a lot of white bass trolling, so a lot of times I'll put it on a spoon or an inline spinner or even a lipless crankbait and just kind of have the trolling motor on like a low speed and troll over some points that I know hold white bass and catch a lot of white bass that way. I also catch a lot of white bass on jigs, but that's mainly because I'm jig fishing for crappie and I kind of get a bycatch of white bass. So jigs definitely work for white bass, but just not quite as well as these spoons and lipless crankbaits. You can see this lipless crankbait's been pretty beat up over the years from catching bass and a lot of largemouth bass and white bass. But again, I'd like to emphasize that the spoons and the inline spinners are my favorites for white bass. Now I'm going to go over to some lures that I haven't had that much luck on. And anything with a thicker body like square billed crankbaits or these bigger crankbaits for largemouth bass, I really haven't caught any white bass on. This one's probably just too big in general for those white bass. Also thin profile crankbaits, for some reason I really haven't caught too many white bass on. And then topwater is kind of an intermediate lure. I have caught white bass on them, but usually I find even if I see them feeding at the surface, if I'm casting a spoon into them, I'm still catching more fish than with the topwater. So definitely try the spoons and the inline spinners. A great time to catch them though is sunset, about 30 minutes before to about 30 minutes after. Every time my catch rate of white bass goes way up at Smithville Lake. Another thing to look for is any points in the lake that have a big drop off. If I troll over those, I catch a lot of fish. And so I hope you learned something here today. Maybe you'll try out one of these lures, and thanks for watching. There we go. There's a white bass, and you can see I just have a rig with two rooster tails that are both spinning. This is not a bad white bass right here.